In this video, we're going to go over how to do inequalities on the GED. And they could give you word problems like this, algebraic ones like this, or number line ones like this. So we'll go over all of them. Now the first one, your wedding food budget is $14.50, but let's pause there. Look at the end. We notice we have $14.50. We're either going to stay above or below that amount here. So let's break down these symbols. When it goes in this direction, that means more than or greater than. And then this one, less than. And you could remember it because you could turn the top one into a G, the bottom one an L. Okay, but this statement saying we're going to spend, this looks like an L, less than $14.50. And that's what we want because we want to stay under our budget. So that one is good. The next one would say we're going to spend greater than $14.50, but that's no good. So as you could see, A and C, those might be it. B and D, they're out. The next thing we want to find is, what are we going to do with X? That's the number of people. Are we going to multiply it by 28 or by 500? But the meals are 28 per person. We have X number of people. So we want to multiply 28 times X. So it's going to have to be that first one, A. Because the caterer, we just pay that one time. So we just add that into the mix there. Okay, not too bad, but let's check out another one. Now let's jump to the end here because we want to earn more than 500 this week. So let's look at these symbols. Well, the first one, this looks like an L, less than 500, no good. But this one, greater than, more than 500, that's great. Let's keep that. And same thing on the bottom. Okay, get rid of A and C. Now the question is, what are we going to multiply 30 by? Well, we could either do it by this or this, but 30 represents the number of hours. We earn $12 per hour. So therefore, those are the two we want to multiply. Because B would say, okay, we work 30 hours, but we only make 12 cents per hour. But that's no good. So it's got to be D, that last one there. And then finally, our sales is X, and we're going to get 12% of that amount. So that's why we multiply it by 0.12. Same thing as 12%. Okay, one other one. Now in this case, the answers are all just one number. When that happens, they've actually solved the inequality. So let's go ahead and grab that. Now, if you've solved equations before, it's the exact same process, but if not, no worries. The goal is to get X all by itself. But to do that, we don't want that 14,500. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract that. Whatever you do to one side of the problem, it gets split right there. You're going to go ahead and do it to the right side as well. And then that'll cancel these guys. Drop down the negative 32x. Then 100 minus 14,500. That'll give us that. Whatever is in front of x is being multiplied by x. We want to do the opposite. Opposite of multiplication, divide by negative 32, and we'll do it to both sides there. Okay, those will cancel, and then whatever this turns into, this division, is going to give us the answer. However, there's one other important aspect. When you divide by a negative with inequalities, it's going to flip this. Because this is a greater than, it's going to go ahead and flip it to a less than. But let's go ahead and do this with the calculator. Let's do negative 14,400 divided by negative 32, 450. So therefore, x less than or equal to 450. Now, x in this case represents miles. We're driving on a full tank of gas. We're seeing how far we could go. So the number of miles is going to be less than or equal to 450. Same thing as D there. Okay, let's just look at the algebraic ones now. Same idea as what we were just doing on the previous problem. Let's check it. Now when you solve an equation, it just has an equal sign. When you solve an inequality, it's got a greater than or a less than. But it's still the same method for both of these. Okay, so same thing, we want to get x by itself, but we have a minus 6. Let's get rid of it. Let's add 6. And then same thing on the other side. Let's do it. These will cancel, but let's break out the calculator because now we've got 4/3. Could use that fraction button right there, n over d. And then plus 6. Okay, 22 over 3. So that's on the right side. And then this one just drops straight down. But once again, when you have something in front of x, it's multiplied by x. We want to get rid of it, so we want to do the opposite. We're going to divide both sides by 2/3. That'll get rid of these. And then let's do it with the calculator here. We'll start off with 22 over 3. This calculator is amazing. Same one you use on the GED. But then divided by another fraction, 2 over 3. Bada boom, 11. Kind of surprising, but the fractions cancel. It's a positive, so we don't flip the sign. We just keep it a greater than, and that's it. So final answer, x is greater than or equal to 11. Okay, let's do one last version of this with parentheses. Because in this case, you always want to start with distribution. In other words, you're going to go ahead and multiply that thing in front times 8. So let's do that. Okay, our fraction, we could go ahead and do -3 down 2, and then times 8. -12. So let's bring down the left, the less than or equal to -12, and then just tack on the y right there. Now we're going to multiply -3/2 times 20. Let's do it. We could start off with the negative this time. 3 down 2 times 20. -30. So we'll put it as a -30 there. But once again, we want to get y by itself. We want to get rid of that -30. We'll do the opposite. We'll add 30 to both sides. That'll get rid of them there. The left side, that turns into 42. And then -12y right there. But you know what to do. They're next to each other. So as you've seen, the last step is always division. Divide both sides by -12. Those will cancel. But don't forget, you just divided by a negative. So we're going to have to flip the sign. Okay, 42 divided by -12. That'll get us -3.5. Goes from a less than or equal to a greater than or equal to, and we're home free. Unfortunately, it's not the same as one of these just yet. So imagine that this is a little Pac-Man, and this is its mouth. So it's eating -3.5. It always eats the bigger number. Which of these is doing the same thing? Well, that first one, that Pac-Man is also eating -3.5. So it's the same thing as A there. Now, students often wonder and ask, why does dividing by a negative flip the sign? Let's look at an example real quick. Okay, 4 is greater than 2. No surprise. But let's divide both sides by a negative. 4 divided by -2, -2. 2 divided by -2, -1. However, when you look at a number line, whatever's further to the right is bigger. So surprisingly, -1 is bigger than -2. In other words, we went from a greater than to a less than. And that's why it flips, because when you go into the negatives, then it's backwards. Whatever's actually a smaller negative is technically bigger. And one last type here. Okay, which represents this? Okay, x is greater than or equal to -1.5. One thing you could look at is this equal sign means that the whole is going to be filled in. So could be C, could be D. Let's get rid of A and B. And then we know we say it is greater than, so it's going to be to the right. So it's going to have to be C. One of the ways my students remember it is this looks like an arrow pointing to the right. So you want the arrow also to point to the right. And then the other ones, if you're curious, are these ones. Just keep in mind when it's greater than, it's going to be to the right. And what's nice is less than is to the left. So L and L. Okay, these are the main types of inequalities that show up on the GED. Let me know what questions and issues you run into. You got these. We'll see you in the next video. Toodles.